Hello everyone, and welcome back to First Fast. So, coming up next, we'll have Silhouette Mirage by Karaoke. Take it away. Good luck.
Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to Silhouette Mirage. Any percent US, because that is the first version of the game that I ran. So, we'll be getting right into it. I'll be letting you know when to start the timer, because this is an old game. We do timing SDA way. Which I'll be going with the history about this run, and I guess a little bit of SDA history as well with going through, because I know a lot of speedrunners don't really, like these days, don't really remember the early 2000s days for this game. So we do not start timing until character control, because way back when SDA was like the place for speedruns, it was typically from gain of control until loss of control is when you timed it, and that was called SDA timing. The Japanese runners back then used to do something called RTA timing, which was from console power on until end of credits. So that wasn't as much used back then. Now it's kind of a combination. It depends on which game is being run and everything. So I'll be going ahead and counting you down to start the timer. It'll be right after this thing here. So 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, just a little brief history about this game before we get into more run-specific things. Silhouette Mirage is a game by Treasure, well known for their shoot-em-ups and, games like Sin and Punishment, Ikaruga, a couple other platformers like Donald's Treasure Land Adventure, Astro Boy Omega Factor. Mischief Makers is a big one that everybody remembers them for. This was kind of a forgotten game in terms of everything. It was released on the Saturn originally. This enemy is not going to come back out. Okay, I killed it. First released on the Saturn in 1997, it was then ported to the PS1, released in 98, I believe, and then got its US release via Working Designs in 1999. So Working Designs like to change a lot of stuff in their games that they localize for the market, typically making them harder. Because if you remember in the 90s, there was the whole thing about video games being too easy for the rental places and stuff like that, so a lot of the games were made harder. I think Konami also did this quite often. So Working Designs was one of those. So this version is actually defaulted to super hard difficulty, so like the next level up from, or hard difficulty is one of those. I think it's just hard difficulty rather than normal. They name them weird in the settings for this game. But anyway, this is the game that I found in Game Informer, because Working Designs did a lot of their advertisement in Game Informer. They had a little partnership with them or something, I don't know. So they did a couple previews and reviews of this game, and something about it just stood out to me. I don't know if it was the colors, for the characters, the art, or something, but I got my PS1 in Christmas 1999. This game came out around that time, and I think I got it a few months later. Found it in a Toys R Us, just randomly one day, and I was like, Mom, it's that game from Game Informer. I need to get it. Can you get it for me? And she got it for me. And yeah, that's how I got this game, and I never actually finished it as a kid because, again, they bumped the difficulty up. This game is quite difficult playing casually if you don't know the secrets, like that secret shop right there that I got a level 6 weapon from. Did I scroll the enemy off the screen? Yes, okay. So I only got about maybe like 70% of the way through before my continues ran out as a kid, and I didn't beat it until I was a little bit older. I want to say maybe, I got it in 2000, I probably beat it in 2003, 4 maybe? After finally just kind of pushing through and playing through, used up all my continues and everything. And that was on the easiest route of the game. That wasn't even like the hard route or anything. I don't want to save. And then, it was around 2006 when I found... Actually, I think I found Metroid 2002 website first, and just watched a bunch of the videos they had there about Metroid Prime speedrunning, despite me never having played Metroid Prime. And from there I found Speed Demos Archive, which was the message board, the forums, the home of speedrunning that wasn't Twin Galaxies back in the day. And registered an account, and I believe my very first post, other than maybe like an introduction post, was, hey, I have this game, Silhouette Mirage, and I like it a lot, and I'm gonna start running through it. And I want to say my first speedruns were up near the 2-hour range or so, just to get through the game. And they slowly started getting down lower into like the high hour mark sort of range. Also, a sort of history about speedrunning is, you know, this is before streaming. This is the early days of video uploads. YouTube was barely a thing. And there were size limits and video length limits on everything, just because a lot of people were still on dial-up. Back then, to get your video on SDA, the best course was to record your run to a VHS tape at the highest quality. Send it over via mail to a guy named Nate, who would then encode it for you and put it on the internet. And I remember when that kind of stopped being a thing, he showed pictures of his closet that had all these old speedrun tapes of things that got sent to him. Because he was the guy to get your runs online. Eventually, there was an encoder thing built where if you could record to a DVD, then you could do it yourself. And then, you know, it was about 2008, 2009 when capture cards became cheap enough that you could just hook your systems in. I started streaming in 2009 with a very, very simple composite video to USB capture card. And I put a mic, I didn't have an audio splitter, I put a mic next to the television to get the game audio. I had to play off the computer screen because I had a Y splitter cable, just a little Y splitter with no power that I just had to concentrate there, actually, on the run there. That I just had to put, and my screen was extremely dark because it wasn't powered, and just little things like that that really show how much speedrunning has changed, and how much, you know, quality is these days from, you know, the days of pointing a webcam at your television, or recording on a VHS and sending it to some guy, hoping it got there fine, having to figure out pauses in your run for longer runs like RPGs, which were very rarely done in single segment sittings. Segmented runs were the thing. In fact, I even considered running this game segmented, like grouping each stage like 2 by 2, just to grind down the times within the segments, because single segment runs, even for action games in some cases, weren't really a thing. And let alone longer games like RPGs. Like, I run a couple other games, like, I should have, what do you call it? Reflected there, but oh well. Like, some of the longer games I run, like, Imaginate Rayearth, that would have been totally segmented back in the day. None of this sit around for an hour and a half, 2 hours on a run, because your tapes couldn't hold that much data. You'd have to pause and switch tapes and take breaks and whatnot. And segmented runs aren't really done these days anymore, because streaming is like the major thing about speedrunning. But yeah, this was my first game that I ever ran, and no one else really ran this game. That even like poking around some old like Nico video uploads, I really never found much on the Japanese side for this game either back then. And it wasn't even until 2013, 2014, when the second runner, Chaos 42666, came by and rerouted the game to go faster, basically. AGDQ 2013. So not the earliest GDQs, but pretty far back there. And this is an awful pistol. Oh, I knocked him down. AGDQ 2013 bonus stream, for those who remember bonus stream being a thing. I ran this game for that. This is bonus stream when you can just... There was a whiteboard in the 4-H Center streaming room, and you put your name on it, and like when you'd be around, and you'd... If you were there, you'd do a run. You just pop on the TV and everything would be fine. And so I ran this for that. That was the first time I used a slim PS2 for this game, because until then I was playing it on my old, you know, childhood fat PS2, fast disk speed, thinking that that's the best way to do it. Turns out, slim PS2s, in this case, do load this game much faster. Getting into PS1 speedrunning is a little bit rough for a lot of games because you never know which variation of the console is going to run your game best. In most cases, it's going to be a slim PS2 at the highest, the newest version possible. So I have a SPCH 75,000, I believe. The newest slim PS2 being a 90,000, and a lot of people are going to be looking for those 90,000s because they load the fastest, they load the best, especially on PS1 games. I saved... Oh, goodness, it was probably 3 minutes or so when I played on a slim PS2 versus my fat at home. And I think the day after I got home from AGDQ 2013, I went over to GameStop and bought a slim PS2 because the loading times are that much better, and that's still the same console that I'm using today. And it just turns out that, kind of in terms of timing between the leaderboards, that myself and Chaos have the same PS2, so we never had any contention about anyone's system loading faster. But, yeah, in some cases, PS3s will load the game better. In some cases, different models of the PS2 will load it better. In some cases, like, I run another game called Growlancer 2. My slim PS2 has issues loading that game. That's a PS2 game, though. My slim PS2 will not load that game 50% of the time. I have to hold it a certain way for it to read the disc. So that's a fun thing about disc-based game speedrunning, is that whatever variant of the console could affect your runs of the game. So, originally, when I ran this game, I did something that's now called easy path. Easy ending, because that's the way I played the game growing up. It had to be the fastest, right? Because you skip, the bosses are easier, right? So it's faster, right? Well, no, it's not. And when we get to that point at the end of the game, I will point out why it's not faster. It has been tested as to why it's not faster. And if once you think about it, it makes sense. I'm, not the best at routing games. This also happened with Growlancer, where I just played the game as I'd always played it and didn't think about the routing, and then when somebody came by and routed it and cut the time literally in half, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. This is why I locked the camera. Darn it. Okay, we're gonna just kind of let this come over me. You don't want the camera to lock there because obviously it goes slower, etc., etc. But Chaos came by and routed out that the hard path was faster. And then, shortly after that, there was a very short amount of time in the run's history where we ran on hard path. And that quickly changed to running on what we call medium path. So there's a split near the end of the game where you fight a certain boss, and then another split where you fight another certain boss. Speaking of bosses, I'm gonna break this boss. Alright, he decided to punch me, but as you can see, he's not doing anything now. As long as I shoot him there. That only happens in the I think it's either this version or the PS1 version in general. That doesn't happen in the Saturn version. You just shove him in the corner because he's not a good puppy. And there you go.
Let's go! Yay!
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, like, how the disc... It's definitely interesting, like, how the disc speed up. Like, the architecture of the system you're playing on affects things. That's, like, definitely a thing that's tricky about, like, speedrunning disc-based games, yeah.
Enemy power started. Oh, no!
I actually own 2 slim PS2s because I have a Japanese one as well. And I think my Japanese one's slightly older, but I don't use it as much. They're also different colors. It's cool. I got my slim US one's black and my Japanese one is white, so I can tell them apart, unlike my Dreamcasts. My Dreamcasts look exactly the same. One's slightly yellower than the other, and I have to kind of remember which one's which when playing around with them. And one other difference between, I guess in general, the PS version and the Saturn one is turbo controllers for the Saturn are a lot more common and easier to find. Zohar, please. Common and easier to find and get using, so I do use a turbo controller for the Saturn version runs on the Japanese version. But this one, I don't have a turbo controller for. Turbo is allowed. We do like to save risks. I just haven't gotten around to getting a setup for turbo on PS2 as of yet. My turbo controller for my Saturn is cute. I remember I have a webcam on. This is my Saturn controller. It's Bomberman.
Ooh.
The little switches are his eyes. I think it's very cute. But here, gotta mash through. I have a kind of a, not patented, but I have a specific mashing method that I can do. I'll hold my controller up next time I mash through a segment here, where I kind of actually move my hand over like this. So that was quick, but I actually pull my hand over here and hold it like this and mash with my thumb and my pointer finger to get through the text as fast as possible, like that.
Oh. Cool.
So this is an auto-scroller. This is the perfect time to, I guess, you know, if chat's got any questions about more, like, this game's speedrunning history, or mine personally, or, you know, maybe about the game in general, too. I am all ears in this segment, because, not much to do here other than wait for the, auto-scroller to go through as I shoot the boss.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask. And also a bit up the link, some links are posted. Definitely. Also, one thing that's really cool is that there's a raffle for shoes, and you can get $10 for. You can like donate $10 to get an entry for that, and the shoes look really neat. And also another thing for donations is that if we hit $4,000, say Meryl will be playing Shovel Knight Focus at the end of the marathon. So that's definitely cool. We're getting really close to $4,000 raised. Thanks for the link, Carrie, in chat. Those shoes look really cool.
Watch where you're driving, idiot!
Get your hands up. Get your hands up. There. That was actually really good timing on that.
Power set.
A lot of this game, kind of at the top levels between my time and the record time, which is The record is currently for this version a 37:59. I have a 39:37. I had to squint there at my splits. It's a lot down to boss RNG at this point.
Caution, power
The
status critical.
fish boss from stage 2, if she dives, the gun boss from stage 2, if you get all pink ones, the couple of final bosses as well with how fast they go. Alright, I had to make sure I didn't soft lock there. Just in terms of like what attacks they do and stuff. Okay, we're fine. There is a soft lock there on all versions if the game doesn't dump the running around enemies out of memory. Chaos has... I've never had it happen personally. Chaos has had it happen on every version of the game because he's unlucky.
So one question I see in chat, there's also an 80% for the Japanese version. Are there differences between that and the US version?
Yes,
Enemy
very
power
much
status
so.
critical.
The English version, other than also the system differences between, like, Japanese one is mainly played on the Saturn version. I mean, you could play on the PS1 version if you had a copy of that one. But the Saturn version is slightly cheaper, so that's why all of us run on Saturn. The actual mechanics
Caution,
of
power status critical.
fighting enemies and stuff is a little bit different. Where,
This a good one.
first off, I think I'll start from the beginning, I guess, with this. I am not going to go for the juggle on this, because I don't trust myself on this version. The US version, prices of weapons are different. They are kind of... They're done by
Make this a good one.
weapon type instead of by levels. So, for example, the one I am using, Sarosa here, it's gonna... Nope, okay. Sarosa is 300 money for the 300 money for level 6 in the US version. In the Japanese version, it is 900 money. Gratoni in the US version is 1200 money because he's the most powerful weapon, right? No, he's actually really bad. But he's also 900 in the Japanese version.
A big winner.
Because they standardized it by level, so all level 6 weapons are 900 money, versus the US version that kind of changed it by that. So there's one difference there. In the US version, when you attack enemies of the same color, you absorb their spirit back into you. So you gain spirit, which is that bar on the bottom of the screen at the top left. That's what you use for shooting your weapons. When you shoot your weapons, you lose spirit in the US version. In the Japanese version, you do not. So I'm just going... Oh, I can show that a little bit here. So I'm just going to stand here and shoot my Sarosa a little bit. So he goes down 294, 293. I lose spirit there. That does not happen in the Japanese version. This is fine for most of the game, until you get to the end game when you're fighting bosses that you cannot absorb spirit from. And different weapons use different amounts of spirit. So Sarosa here barely uses any, but that Gratoni that I mentioned before uses a lot of spirit. Like, it's pretty much a 1-to-1. Like, every second your spirit drops by a bunch. Or it would be like frame-based even. It's a lot. He's useless in this version. Also some bosses in this version, in the US version, have more HP because it's defaulting to hard difficulty. This is really shown on the walkers that have 80 HP here. They have 60 in the Japanese version. Also, there were some damage mechanic tweaks where neutral damage does more, or like basically neutral damage does more. So any reflected shots in this version will do more damage. You'll be seeing that in the spider boss in the next level. I'll point out if I can get a perfect fight on him. He goes down very easily compared to the Japanese version, where it takes like twice as long, just because of that change. So, the TLDR is, yes, there's enough mechanics differences between them to make them separate categories.
More.
Ah, gotcha. That's really interesting, yeah. Also seeing a lot of people in chat saying this game looks awesome, and I definitely agree. This looks like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's starting to get up there in price, so I do highly recommend that you pick it up. It's one of those games where it's not available on PS Network. You can get the Japanese version on PS Network. If you want to do that instead, that's fine. But getting the US version, it's starting to sneak up there, just like with a lot of other retro games. Great pickup to get. I need to get another copy of it actually, because there's 2 disc variants. There's a different disc art variant that I don't have yet, and I want to get that one.
Oh, nice.
Also, I found out, thanks to Shentalk, that there was a actual soundtrack CD released in Japan for this. I want to get that too, because it's got like a nice like cover art on it. Actually, this is one of those PS1 games where the soundtrack is on the game disc itself. You just need to skip the first track. So I can put this into a CD player and play the game soundtrack off of it.
Oh.
Which I know a lot of... I don't know if a lot of, but a decent amount of like games did that back in the CD disc era, where if you skipped the first track, you could either listen to music from the game on the rest of the CD as a soundtrack, or like little bonus hidden things in the tracks there that it wouldn't that were kind of in there.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's another point, that soup boss there is another point of like RNG in the run, where it all depends on if he sniffs at the right time or not. That's kind of, you know, separating the times a little bit once your movement gets down. Yeah, cooking is hard. It's fun. I like cooking a lot, but you cook for 2 hours and then you eat the food for 15 minutes. It's a weird time differential in there, isn't it? There's also a difference between Saturn and PS1 versions of this game. Saturn version does not save. There are no saves between... I have to go right here to remember to go right. There are no saves between levels, so it's a one and done type of thing. Although, if your system like encounters an error, it does have like a continue thing. It looks like, where if like say, I don't know if it stores it in like partial memory or something. I don't know. Shentalk might be able. I know Shentalk's in chat. He might be able to expand upon if the Saturn version can load it all. But there's that. The PS1 version also added a new boss at the end of the game if you take the complete easy route, and also added a hidden boss in the middle of the game. I knew he was going to shoot at me. Controller? A new hidden boss in the middle of the game where if you get to a certain point and not die, and pick the right options,
Enemy power status.
you will fight it. Okay, so right there is a spider boss. You saw he went down in basically 3 reflect shots there of that string attack. He takes double that in the Japanese version, just because of that mechanic I mentioned where they upped the neutral damage. And this actually applies to this boss as well, because all these enemies are neutral types, and they can only be damaged by reflecting.
Witness our power, microbe.
This is also the most RNG boss in the game right here.
Reflector!
Attribute wave.
Caution, power status.
Damage. Red ram, red ram, red ram, red ram, red ram, red ram.
Reflector!
Damage.
Reflector!
Red ram, red ram,
Reflector!
red ram. Attribute wave. Damage. Damage.
Yes, keep walking towards me and taking damage.
Enemy power status.
Oh, awesome. Great. That was
Power
a
depleted.
solid fight.
Initiate
As you can
self-destruct
see,
mode.
very RNG, he can just jump around, blah, blah, blah. Very annoying fight. And I have not died yet, so I need to do that. We go for speed here, and it actually is faster to die than it is than taking the hidden path thing when you haven't died and answering the question wrong. To, you know, get to the secret boss. I think I'm already at low HP, so that should be fine. Strategy. This is what routing is all about.
Time to test your mettle. Helping hand! Helping hand! Watch this!
Messenger program initialized.
Nice.
Helping hand! Watch this! Watch this!
Burning arrow?
Burning arrow! Watch this! Burning arrow!
This is another sort of time-saving thing that was discovered in routing. I forget if it was me or Chaos that discovered it, where you can actually catch him during his burning arrow move there.
Good.
You can catch him on the way down, but it's a lot easier on the way up, so that's when I do it on the way up. Where there's little things like that when before we had to be waiting out, because he does like down, up, down, up, down, up, and then he can hover in mid-air and do a Rose's attack as well, which is really annoying to dodge, and those do neutral damage, and neutral damage is annoying because it does both HP and spirit. What other differences are there between the versions? Although a nice splash screen in the loading screens there is unique to the US version. It's just kind of a black screen with text on it in Japanese. Also, the save file icon, if I opened up my save manager thing on the PS2 here, that icon is animated for this version. It is not for the Japanese one. Because that was a nifty little thing that showed off your skills then or something to make your save files animate. I'm not sure how the Japanese PS1 version tracks the bonus options screen to unlock like stage select and whatnot. Because I don't own the disc version of that one. I just own it on PS3 on PSN. But this one actually has like an option screen that tracks your like how many paths you've cleared, and then when you've cleared all 5 of them, you get like a bonus option screen where you can go and get a stage select and all that sort of stuff. I know in the Saturn version, it's a code that you input when the game boots to get to stage select there. Which is great to use for practice. Although some of the stage numbers don't all line up properly, like they're out of order in some cases. I think I wrote down like which one corresponds to which. So I think it was, I don't know how late into the run game it was that we discovered how this boss like actually kind of functions. How many enemies he needs to eat in order to take damage, and how you can cycle him better and just kind of get him down. He needs 10 enemies to be defeated. The enemies follow you around, and you follow the hands around. His AI will go towards the same color enemies that his wings are. So his wings are blue, he's going to be going towards blue enemies. See, he caught that one mid-air, even though this other one had been on screen longer. Because he doesn't want to take damage, he's smart. Sort of. Now I'm going to leave these blue enemies alive. There can only be 3 enemies on screen at once. When he starts spinning, you can't defeat the enemies anymore. When he has 4 in his insides, he'll squish them to defeat them. Although, at points, if he has 3 inside of him and isn't grabbing another one, he will start squishing. 10 enemies to kill him, 3 rounds minimum. This is also kind of an auto-scroller, it's just a little bit more of a controlled auto-scroller. Also very good for grinding money. You can just punch all the enemies. So I know the voice acting isn't too robust in this game compared to like a lot of Working Designs RPGs. I'm actually going to destroy this here. But Working Designs had an in-house team for all of their localizations, so they share a lot of they basically share all voice actors
Enemy
between
power
games.
status
So
critical.
if you looked at the credits, you'd see, oh, that person was in Lunar, that person was in Growlancer, that person was in what else did they do? I don't know what other games had voice acting, like from the Imaginary Ray Earth had voice acting. A lot of repeated names between their games because they did all of their voice acting in-house, which was kind of a unique thing back then, since a lot of even like nowadays you get contracted out to different voice acting houses like Bang Zoom or other such places. Please grab the 4, thank you. That's also why you don't typically see the same like voice actors from Working Designs games in non-Working Designs games in that era. They were kind of, for what games did get, you know, English voice tracks and weren't either completely cut or just left with the Japanese tracks in, you're never going to see them outside of Working Designs games. I'm going to hydrate. Delicious hydration. So if you were here earlier, you heard me mention about path split. This is the path split. So when I was a baby speedrunner, I would time this boss out. I would wait the 2 minutes and not defeat this boss. Oh, that's rude. Because those reflective things on the screen can also reflect... Okay, that's better. Zohar, please. Hold still. When I was a baby speedrunner, I would time this boss out because the follow-up boss is easier than if I defeat Zohar. But, obviously, doing something in under 2 minutes is faster than waiting for 2 minutes. So, Chaos found out that defeating Zohar is faster than not defeating Zohar. This is not the best defeating Zohar. You can do it in 20 seconds. But, not bad. See, 40 seconds, or 50 seconds even, is faster than 2 minutes. And I didn't realize that when I was younger, for whatever reason, because I was afraid of the next boss. The next 2 bosses on this path, actually really the next 3. This boss, the medium boss, and the hard boss, they're all more difficult than the easy bosses are. It's on YouTube if you search Silhouette Mirage AGDQ 2013. There's actually 2 videos of it, of my run where I do the easy path, and at the end I'm like, oh, I got world record, because I was the only runner back then. And that was still faster because I was doing on the Slim PS2. Other than that run at AGDQ 2013 during bonus stream when anybody could, you know, run a game, this game made its proper GDQ debut last year at SGDQ 2020. After I was submitting it for basically 7 years. Basically ever since I ran it in bonus stream, I kept submitting the game and it kept getting rejected. This is proof that why you should never give up on submitting to big marathons, because eventually you'll probably get in.
Yeah, definitely.
So the cool thing about this boss here, you can take it down in 2 cycles, so basically 2 flips of its colors using turbo. When you do, when it's non-turbo, it does take longer just because your rate of fire is low.
Enemy power status critical.
And the pink side is worse than the blue side, because the pink side moves around a lot. So 4 cycles, if I can do 4, that'll be pretty good. Once I learned the patterns for this boss, I was like, oh, this is actually not as difficult as I thought it was.
Power status critical.
And it's gonna do... Oh, okay. Please, hit me. Thank you. So when you die, both of your spirit and your health get revived, get refilled. As you can see there, I was at 9 HP and I had 100 spirit. I wanted to take a health death there because taking a spirit death is very bad. When your spirit goes down to 0, you absorb your current weapon. And I don't have another level 6 weapon, and I don't have money to buy another one, so that would have been extremely bad if that happened. But yeah, it's always better to take an HP death than a spirit death in this. Good routing strategies. And also just good in the game in general. If you have the continues to spare, just take them, just use them. If you're just going for single playthrough. Your continues only really matter if you're trying to do all 5 paths, because your 10 continues are shared between all 5 paths. Alright, so here, I'm not going to mash the text, I'm going to just use the circle button so I don't select the wrong option. Selecting the wrong option will put me on the hard path, and I don't want that. I want the medium path. We like our games medium rare. Please don't eat your games, they taste horrible. So for a while there, it was actually faster in the route to take the hard path until Chaos realized, wait, this boss is faster. The hard path boss has a whole auto-scroller section to it, so while the rest of it does go faster, possibly, and it's a little bit more simpler of a boss in terms of like mechanics, this one is faster. So time will be coming up soon as he gets to 0 HP. And we want him to attack us. So that means of course he fell off the edge of the world and ruined that. So now I had to mash.
Caution, power status critical.
Okay, we will take that because that means we can do Parasite Bomb. Then it was discovered that Parasite Bomb is the fastest way to do it because it's an unblockable attack and time. It's an unblockable attack when he's attacking and you're not taking damage, basically, so. Just over 40 minutes, that's a solid time for sure for this game.
Nice, GG.
So I think since we have a little bit extra time, I'll just go through the ending cutscene here, and then I will load up my save file with all the paths unlocked, and I can show you the options menu. There's also a funny little trick about the options menu that we found out years and years later about it, that for a while, like, oh, there's actually stuff in the options menu that we can't access still, and we can't find it, and the guides say that this exists in here. Well, it turns out you have to access the options menu a special way once you unlock it, but let's watch the bad ending cutscene first. Yes, that's the bad ending, even though it has happy music and everything, because the world wasn't saved. In the good ending, she saves the world, but it's actually more depressing. I highly recommend playing this game and finding out why it's more depressing. Also, the plot of this game is pretty off the walls. One last change that the US version did is they made the ending playable, the credits playable. You can play around the Zohar here and beat enemies up, and you actually can break the ending by either spawning yourself off the screen, or at the end when Shina comes on the screen to say thanks for playing the game, you can not have her spawn because you block her from spawning. But I'm gonna go ahead and reset my console, and I think it's on my green memory card, but I will put my red one in as well because I think it's I think my complete save file is on my green memory card. I will go ahead
It
and
looks
load
like
that
we're still about 10 to 15 minutes ahead, so you can feel free to show off some stuff.
Yeah, I will load up the my save file here and show off some of the stuff that you get when beating all 5 paths in the game. What all 5 paths mean, it means all 4 possible ending branches and also defeating the Reaper, which is the hidden boss in the middle of the game that you get if you don't die. I will try card 1 first. I don't know if that's the right screen. It might be on card 2, actually. Nope, this is the Reaper. Actually, this is the Reaper fight. You know what? Let's fight the Reaper. Let's show you. I'll show the Reaper fight. You have to answer the questions correctly. So no, right, left. So he's just like the super powered guy. He's like, oh, okay, you're cool. I'm gonna fight you. He has a reflector on during that part there. Okay, I will take that because I was pretty low on health there. The best way to fight the Reaper here is just to sit on your reflect side and reflect all the shots back at him. But we want to be fast, so we want to defeat him as much as possible. We can't hit him there because he's got a shield up, but here we can just kind of sit there and smack him, dodge the shots, and he's going to do that again. Whenever we see that, the shield is that little flashy green thing around him. He does a lot of damage. Also, his scythe is normal, so he will be doing both health and spirit damage to me.
Enemy power status critical.
He is actually staying on screen a lot longer than I expected him to. Alright, that's the Reaper fight.
Nice.
So that took like 2 minutes or so to do it like that. When doing it casually, you kind of want to stay on your reflector side as much as possible and just dodge and reflect shots at him and kind of wind him down as much as possible. But that was not the save file I wanted to load, so we're going to go ahead and load the other save file that I have.
That was still a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, I actually forgot that I had a save file at the Reaper. I think I actually made that last year for the SGDQ incentive that didn't get met for fighting the Reaper. And I had just had that sitting there, just on... Get my only 2 PS1 memory cards mixed up. Alright, let's load from card 2 this time. So if you saw there, it says status at the bottom right there. And now it's just going to load up back to the title screen. Yep, you see it's blue. This means you're on a completed file. And now status turned to secret. Secret is, I believe that is actually the Core Fighter game. So we'll go into Core Fighter. So you load this up here. And this is one of the bonuses you get for clearing all 5 paths. This is a thing called Core Fighter 2000, I believe. Yep. Super Core Fighter 2 requires 2 controllers. I don't know where my other PS2 controller is, so I'm not gonna do that. But what this is like a little 2-player fighter for 2 minutes. Got the timer on here. And player 1 controls Shina with 3 weapons, and player 2 controls Zohar. Zohar's not gonna do anything because I don't have a second controller plugged in. But as you can see, it's very unbalanced. For one thing, you cannot drain spirit from Zohar, and your spirit still goes down. 2, you have level 1 weapons. You have level 1 Sarosa, level 1 Envia, I think that is. I don't remember which weapon that is. Actually, don't know how to use it either. There we go. And level 1 Gratoni. There goes my spirit, just draining down. Yeah. So once your spirit's drained, you can't really do much damage and everything. Zohar doesn't really use that much spirit. So this game is extremely unfair and biased towards player 2.
Scanning targets in
Oh, wow.
So I'm gonna go ahead and do a soft reset here. Is that not gonna work? Yeah, there it goes. So yeah, that if you ever play that 2-player mode, is extremely biased towards player 2.
Oh, wow.
So here we're gonna go into the options screen now. If you press X on the options menu, you're not gonna unlock every option. You have to press Start to unlock everything. And that's the mystery thing that we couldn't find until I don't know how many years ago it was. But before it wouldn't unlock everything here. So here it is where we can enable, disable vibration, difficulty, defaults to hard difficulty. Normal is where the Japanese version goes down. This determines HP of the walkers, along with, I think, maybe some other stuff in the game. We never really went too much into it. Shop items, normal and loaded, is either the shops are going to have everything, and you have max money at all times after every screen transition, or they're just normal. Stage select turn on. When I come out of the game and go to new game, it will have a stage select. Sound test. Bunch of sounds. Character resize and game speed. So character resize means I think you pause the game and you can use the shoulder buttons to resize the sprites of your character, and also game speed. You can set it to hyper and actually kind of break the game this way. There's actually you cannot progress through the game completely
project initialized.
when on hyper speed, because the game will not go through the slot boss properly. I think that's okay. So this is the first area. That's the fish boss. I want stage 4. We'll just do this 4-2. Everything is fast!
Wow.
I only have a level 1 weapon right now because I don't have a shop available, but yep, this is hyper mode. Everything is fast. Text isn't as fast though, but why they put hyper mode in here, I don't know. Just for funs. If I play up to the slot machine boss, the game will soft lock because, and I think I will get to that point. I will end it there to soft lock the game on the slot machine boss because the game can't run it at hyper speed. 6, there it is.
Surprise! Behold the beauty of shadow.
Enemy power status critical.
So that's why there's no meme category of hyperspeed. So even right there, the graphics kind of glitched out with his explosion because his explosion animation went by so quickly. He didn't disappear there, and it just kind of faded out weird.
this a good one. Let's make this a good one.
So, the game is now soft locked. You cannot hit her because she has no hitbox right now. You can't grab her, and the slot machine can't run because the animation moved too fast to activate it. So this has been Silhouette Mirage, everybody. I hope you had a good time learning about a little bit of the history of the speed run, a little bit of history of speed running at the start, and just this game in general. Please play it, please enjoy it, and please watch the rest of the marathon. It's been a great time so far. Go raffle yourself some shoes. Those are really pretty shoes there. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for that. That was a lot of fun. So, coming up next, we'll be having I think Mega Man Extreme 2 by Tibbus Max 1000. So, thanks for that run. That was fun.